First off, thank you Ethereum Foundation, everyone behind Devconnect, Crypto Canal for organizing this. I think it's amazing way to start this week. So I'm very honored to be involved in the program and happy I can share with you some things. So let me just figure this out. All right. So my presentation is something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm really excited I get to share with you how can you actually carve your dream job in crypto or Web3 or blockchain or DAO or whatever domain of this exciting innovative space. And it is targeted at people who are new to the space. So if you're a newbie in this industry, in this community, and you want to learn more, I hope I have some valuable inputs for you. And if you are a more seasoned person in this space, maybe there's something you can reflect on or even pass it on to the others, because we have a lot of work to do to actually bring more people in. So yeah, I've been introduced, but maybe it just makes sense that I'm Lenka or Lenkla. Either way is fine, and this is ETHDay, Amsterdam, first day of Devconnect. And what we'll cover here, I'll tell you a little bit about my background and how it is relevant. Then we'll also talk about what is it that you should actually know about this space as a prospective candidate, and how does it differ and what nuances there are besides the space itself, but how does it differ from other jobs? For instance, a lot of things are quite similar to startups, but I also try to distill those points that are specific to this industry. Then, of course, you want to understand what works and what doesn't, and I'll share with you a couple of resources. There are many more, but a good starting point, and hopefully we get to ask and answer some questions, because this is for you. All right, so being from a non-tech background, I have a background in marketing, communication, and culture studies. I had a quite interesting path to get to crypto, but looking back, it's been almost 8 years ago. I got my first job in this space, and I've changed around 3 different types of organizations in the meantime. But as mentioned, I'm also very, very loyal to MakerDAO and really heavily involved in contributing to grow MakerDAO. So one can say, looking at me from the outside, what is this? She never had a real job, per se. But I actually had quite a roles in the space. I did some marketing, communications, community events, and it's been all focused on introducing, educating, or bringing closer people who are new in the space, be that community members, be that users, or even contributors. Right now, I am working as a part of a team we call a core unit in our vocabulary called SES. That stands for Sustainable Ecosystem Scaling, and that's our mandate. So we're looking at how can we grow the modes of a DAO, how can we remove bottlenecks, and how can we do this in a sustainable and safe way. I had a chance to be a project lead for some of very exciting projects in terms of scaling the DAO. One that I'm really proud of, together with the team of awesome people, some of them are here, so please talk to them, is called X-Ray, and it's looking at decentralized workforce, it's looking at contributors, it's looking at how can people, or what makes people attracted, interested, motivated to pursue this career, what are the onboarding pretty and ugly things, and how can we keep people around and happy for a long time. There's this gigantic survey we did, and there'll be a list of the references. And the second thing that is pretty exciting now is ecosystem dashboard that creates transparency. But more relevant to this is also stuff that I do besides my work, and that is a fun group called People Ops that I'm in with a couple of DAO people, where we discuss different aspects of contributions and onboarding people and all these perspective domains. And it's also a lot of fun to be able to build a community, onboard, educate new people. So CryptoWomen or local meetups in Copenhagen that I have a privilege of being co-host of. And we have a couple more here from the hosts. Okay, that was a very long introduction, but I hope that the points I'm gonna make resonate with you, because I'm speaking from some experience and I talked with a lot of people, and I tried to share this previously as well, because I'm really motivated to have you in. So what are the things you should know about this space, about crypto, Web3, blockchain, or even DAOs? First off, you don't have to be a blockchain expert. No one was born a blockchain expert, and we actually need the different profiles to add to the diversity and bring strengths to the space. So yes, originally we started to need devs to build protocols, but we need someone to market it, we need someone to create partnerships, to help with integrations, to foster the community, etc., etc. So don't think of it that you need to be an expert within blockchain or you need to be a technical. We need all kinds of profiles. Differences and different backgrounds are plus, but they also need to be embraced and coordinated in that way. It is a fantastic way when you choose this career to learn something that you're not an expert in. So for instance, you're an economist, you join crypto space, you learn a lot about, I don't know, organization theory, you learn a lot about smart contracts, etc. So you can really explore, and there's plenty things to learn. You also come across some of the brightest and most talented people from the space. So you would find very valuable and insightful people in your team and teammates, and they come from various backgrounds and insights that they bring in. You actually can earn living working in crypto. It's not just something you need to do in the nighttime or besides your normal job. So yes, it pays, there's a lot of investment, there are funds, and projects and companies understand that to attract and retain contributors is very important. So yes, you can get paid. And another point is you're going to be very involved actually to find solutions to the problems you come across because it's such a novel ecosystem and industry that you actually observe a lot of things you need to find solution to. And if you decide to go all the way and join the DAO, you should be actually aware of that you are part of or you will become you will be on the forefront of a completely new work paradigm. There are a lot of things that are not typical as we know them, and we basically need to readjust our mental models to understand and be part of them. It is also not for everyone, so please really make sure that you are a fit for working in a DAO. And also you might be surprised if you want to work in a DAO that you end up with something that doesn't resemble the traditional work contract as you know it. So that goes by the legal standing DAOs are in and the different versions of agreements you need to have. So don't get surprised. So how is it different? Well, a lot of people are leaving Silicon Valley and other companies because in the big tech companies you have around 1% of the people who actually get to work with exciting and innovating stuff. Well, here the percentage is very high. So you end up working with things that really you feel passionate about and are learning a lot. Equally, you're gonna get a role that has a lot of freedom on one hand, but also agency. Maybe you have freedom and agency in other companies, or they claim to have that, but the thing is that you are still somehow boxed into the specific area, which is your job, and if you go beyond, you get punished for that, or you get micromanaged. So here you have much more freedom, more agency, but you also have accountability for your work, higher than in other setups. The expectation alignment, both from the side of hiring manager or like person looking for a workforce and the candidate or a person looking for a job, it's very important to get this right early on. So if you filter out more candidates early on, that just makes sense, because the learning curve is steep and the onboarding is really long process until one becomes a fully contributing member. So it's really, really good to distinguish this early. And if you get the rejection or if it doesn't work out, don't take it as a failure. Next thing is that you are gonna come across a lot of obstacles and issues, so you really need to be dedicated to your work. As mentioned previously on the panel, there is some sort of risk involved in working in crypto or DAOs, etc. So you need to have some level of risk tolerance so you don't become completely anxious about your job. And as mentioned before, you are exploring a lot of novel areas. Crypto is a crossroad of extreme innovation combined, squared. So, community is more than anywhere else important here. You need to understand it, you need to listen to it, you need to speak to it right, and you need to show the value, because community can make you or break you as a contributor. It's very important to be aligned with your community and nurture it. And then something that is quite unique to DAOs is that sometimes it's really good to start with like not very clearly defined role and responsibility, because it actually allows you for a space to grow the direction you feel like it's good for you. So I'm, for instance, very happy to be a project lead in my current role, so I can work on different exciting things. And as I grow, or as I find something more interesting, if it makes sense for the project and for my team, I can relocate myself there. So that's a very special thing about you actually don't want super defined role. Now, things that work. Genuine motivation and interest. When you get to these hard moments and you need to struggle through or figure out solutions, remember your why. So it kind of like needs to be bigger than the task you're doing. It needs to be your drive. Value alignment. A lot of people in this space have a lot of shared values. So there's a lot of mission-driven, cyberpunk, open source, or decentralization values that resonate with the people who participate in this space. This point is maybe the most important point of all. You actually need to take initiatives. This is the key. There are many different ways you can take initiatives. For instance, you can be doing your own research about what companies are there in the space, or what projects are interesting, or why these types of DAOs matter, and you find out that there's just too many scattered resources. So make a short list, share it with everyone else, create a relevant resource. Or you're exploring different communities, you're part of them, you're following the conversations, you join their calls. Well, if there's a need to take notes and no one does it, why don't you take initiative and maybe build it up from there? Or what else could I mention? Or just like take initiative within your work and maybe form it to another completely different focus. So there are a lot of different ways you can take initiatives. And of course, one of them is if you see a chaos, we're still kind of in a chaotic time, be the structure you want to see in your project. So create the structure, provide benefit, show your values, your value to the project or to the community. Embracing uncertainty is a way to survive it, to make it. And you know, a lot of different people come to this space with various backgrounds, various education or levels, or people they managed previously. And you probably are not gonna end up in this space forever working for the same project, having the same competition. So please, towards your colleagues in the future or anyone you meet in the space, be humble and be friendly, because you're forming some long-term relationships that can help you in the future as well. And what doesn't, especially in terms of looking for the job, is that don't be passive looking for this career. That's not how it comes to you. Equally, not all jobs that exist in this space are listed. A lot of them are being snatched by someone who is faster and more takes more initiatives, or are just being formed for the person that the community recognizes as a very important contributor, wanting to have them involved. Do not fake interest or motivation, please. that is just so much noise and distraction, and we have so much more work to do. So please, if you apply for a job, mean it. Don't try to check the boxes forcefully and finding out this is not true you, because you're gonna be miserable, and that's not what we want. Equally, if having job 9 to 5 and paycheck every month is your thing, then maybe this is not your thing, because you should actually be more invested in this. I'm not saying you need to work 24/7, the jokes go that way, but no, you just have to be more invested and more caring about the work you do to actually make it. And it's also a signal for people when they hire. Equally, if you have some large financial debt or responsibility and you lack savings, this might be extremely high risk move in terms of career change for you. So please make sure you can financially sustain yourself if you make this jump, because it is a little bit a jump out of the cliff, but still with some parachute. So just be aware that you should not be in a bad financial situation when you are entering this space, or take it slowly by pace. And there are a lot of old ways things are done in like corporate structures and old school hierarchies in the organizations, delegations, kind of below my pay grade. Don't have these mental models. You need to have some sort of flexibility to adjust for this industry and the pace it grows in. And it really doesn't work if you are not reaching out to people and are not asking questions. You're never gonna learn. You're never gonna make these connections. You need to understand the industry, and the best way to understand it is actually trying and using the different products and realizing what works, what doesn't, where you can contribute the value. So please make sure to involve this in your search. And first and foremost, all the things I mentioned, what you should do is building your credibility. So don't just do everything else but that. So, conclusion. In order to be ready for your next job in crypto, Web3, blockchain, or even a DAO, a couple things to summarize here. You need to have a strong drive. You need to understand your why. You need to find the community you feel like is personally good fit for you. You need to understand how can you be valuable for this project or community instead of trying to force the previous title you had. You also need to be proactive, take initiatives, learn a lot, ask a lot, use products, provide feedback, and contribute. I saw a talk by Element at ETH Denver where they were just talking about this random guy in a community in their Discord who actually like kept asking, gave support around the product, and also gave a good user feedback to them, and eventually became hired and part of the team, very valued member, because they didn't want to lose this person. So that's a really cool way. Earning your credibility as you interact with the communities and the products and the community. Looking at the jobs beyond the job listings. Job listings are a great start, but please look also beyond, outside of the box. Attend events like you just did here, which is great. Meet the community. And again, very important one to stress, you're not alone. There are more of you out there, and you are not too late. We are still early. So please keep that in mind. Don't get like stressed out. Don't FOMO into something. Take it at your pace. So a short wrap up is also some resources. They're not all of them. They're just some. If you're looking for a specific community to join, you're welcome to explore a couple of these I've listed. I really hope that these slides could be available after conference to you, or I'm happy to share them personally, or I'll tweet about them or something. So there's some female communities you could join, some DAO-specific resources where you can nerd out more, Developer DAO, my favorite, Ren, wherever you are, or Build Space. Crypto Twitter is really a thing. You can learn a lot there. Crypto project community Discords, also a very interesting place to learn. Forums I didn't even mention. There are there are Medium articles, there are blogs, there are online courses that you can take. And also, like, a lot of VCs in the space have a lot of valuable knowledge that they share for free. So for instance, A16Z has a great starting points for different areas you want to explore. On the bottom, there's a talk. I try to introduce DAOs. You know, it's an unfinished project. Let me know if you have some other ways you would like to contribute to it, because I hope more people can learn about it. That's the one we did recently at the meetup in Copenhagen with these guys as well. And there's a talk I did about the X-ray research, about the giant survey where we had over 500 developers, and we understood what their journey and struggles were in the space, and also those that are interested. There's a recording and slides, and page to our research with all the resources, all kinds of things. A great podcast is done by Aaron called Redefined Live, and this is especially relevant to people who have no code background, because he basically takes guests that he interviews about their journey to this space and advice they would give to people. So this is like a perfect resource for you. There are a lot of platforms for you to learn, even earn as you learn, get to know the product and become a super user. And there are also alternative ways you can get rewarded for participating in communities. There is a rabbit hole or a coordinate. You can even publish a mirror to earn that way. And if you're not ready to jump into full-time job just yet, you can also explore the different bounties, which are like simple tasks you can do that are listed and you get rewarded for, or you can get grants, funding. Some protocols have their own grants. Then there's like Gitcoin that has ground rounds where you can use magic of quadratic funding to get started with your project or get the continuous support. Or you can just go to a hackathon and win a hackathon. So yeah, those are the resources listed. And with that, I really hope there is a space for some questions that I could help answer.
Yeah, I have a question. Currently, I'm studying my master's in strategic management, and I'm looking for a thesis topic, and I think I'm going to do it in DAOs. So my question is, what are some interesting topics that we could research, both quantitative and qualitative, regarding DAOs?
Yes, I'm trying to make sure I heard your question. Did you say Ambassador DAOs?
No, I'm asking, like, I want to research like my thesis on on DAOs.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm asking you, like, what are some interesting topics I can research regarding DAOs?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for repeating it. So research in DAOs. Well, there are many different interesting domains, and I think the one we mentioned in the DAO panel was actually like, we have some of the basics figured out. We have some of these, like, show me your value, get voted in, and get paid for that work. But we're still lacking all these things that the traditional space has. I don't really know your background, but like that area of like, how do you make this even more attractive, or how do you introduce these benefits for people, the perks and the kind of more certainty for them, and how could it be enabled in this space? Should it be another DAO you use, or what should it be? So that's from people point of view. And then, yeah, there's so many different things one can research about DAOs. You might also look at different verticals, different areas you find interesting. You can look into NFTs or decentralized finance, or depending what your background is, what's interesting for you. Because about DAOs, when I did the presentation about, maybe I can do this very quickly, just give me 1 second. When I tried to introduce DAOs, I actually wanted to, now I'm getting, here I am. So yeah, when I tried to introduce DAOs, I tried to show like, it's so many different areas that are overlapping. So there's like technical aspects, social aspects, aspects around economics, political and legal, and these are like overlapping. I couldn't even, although I tried to dedicate like one slide to it, I couldn't even like make the clear cut because they were like kind of floating between. So it really depends. What is it that you find interesting? But I really hope that this could maybe help you get some inspiration.
Thank you.
We can take one more question.
So everything's clear.
Thank you for coming to speak to us. I was just wondering if you have a view on regulatory or otherwise company policy challenges that might prevent folks or just make it more difficult to work as part of a DAO.
Yes, it definitely, the legal is there for a reason. Some DAOs can actually exist outside of any legal grounding, and it's a quite interesting phenomena. The problem is, like, even with the cryptocurrency and blockchain space on its own, like, how do you adjust for something that's such a paradigm shift, and how do you make it fit for the world as we knew it before that? And, you know, like, hard forcing that doesn't work. So you kind of need to find some middle ground, like, how can you account for it and be kind of more open-minded about it, but at the same time achieve the things that are more important for you as someone who's responsible for nations or people, etc. And I think a really interesting approach, hopefully I answered the question or at least like give an example, is that in Delaware and Wyoming, they actually like recognize DAOs as a legal entity or like a legal wrapping of a DAO, which makes it really interesting playground and innovation, and it also attracts a lot of DAOs to set up there. And in the context of contributors, it is really hard to like ground yourself as a human being, part of like some nation and citizen, and at the same time be connected to this organization that doesn't have a legal ground. So in some cases you need to figure out something in between. In our case, we, for instance, use a third party, so our core unit actually doesn't have a legal entity, and then you use a third party that receives the funds to pay for salaries or expenses, and you kind of try to like bridge it in one way or another. If that was helpful. Okay.
One last question.
Oh, thank you. I have two questions actually.
Last two questions.
First question is, when do you think is the moment that adding token to that organization actually is helping the greater cause? So why I'm asking this is because, okay, I have a piece of land, just for example, and I feel like I want to share it with a community that like-minded, and with DAO, I can imagine it's so great that everyone like contribute to this piece of land, have access to this piece of land, like they can use it or they can like fix it and make it better and just like become a forum meeting place for people. But you can also do that without DAO, without blockchain technology, because like there's also CPO in Rotterdam, if you like interested, that is basically saying we co-own the place together. And yeah, that was the moment like why blockchain need to add to that. So second question I have, oh yeah, maybe this one first. Is that
okay? So the question is like whether if you want to like give or share value from your piece of land with everyone, DAO is a good way to go, right? And I really like that you're actually asking that question, because just blindly DAOing something is a very dangerous thing. Like you need to understand why are you actually doing this, and whether this form of organization or like setup or coordination animal is going to actually help you achieve that, or it's just going to become a lot of burden. So it's really good you first start thinking of this, because we should strain from DAO this, blockchain this, etc. So it's a really good starting point, and I think it also goes with like discussion with the people you want to have involved, because if they won't pick it up, then it might just be an idea that is
totally
dormant.
Like just one example add to that is Link, I think called Link DAO. recently. There was like a group of people like trying to buy a piece of land for their golf course with a DAO. And then at that moment I was like thinking, why we need blockchain for that?
Yes. There's another strain, like you want some completely everyday example and you want to apply something that we are still breaking our heads to. So the best solution would be just exactly as with crypto. You want people who are actual users not even feel the pain or not necessarily having to know that there's a crypto under the hood. And I think you want to come up with a solution that might use a DAO structure, but is like so simple and so effective to use that they actually don't even have to navigate everything. So it's actually value added rather than like something more complex and intimidating for them.
Totally. That's this Web2, Web3 moment that we still need to find a compromise. Yeah, very good. Second question is, how do you...
Amy.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay,
we can
move
continue
on.
off stage. Just I
we
want to make sure.
talk afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm
Warm,
super grateful
please,
for your
everybody,
questions,
round of
guys.
applause for Lenka and for our amazing insights.